You're listening to The Manning Report with your host, James David Manning. The news behind the headlines.
I have this prognostic that I don't know if Trump will make it to see 2020 in terms of January 1, New Year. I don't know if he will. I don't know if he will. One is that his evil genius, and because, see, power corrupts, you've heard that, right? And absolute power corrupts absolutely. And one hears that proverb with the sense that once you get power, you become corrupt, and absolute power corrupts you absolutely. But I think what the proverbial writer also wanted to include in that is that once you become absolutely powerful, that you become absolutely maniacal and suicidal. Let's look at a person like Michael Jackson and Whitney Houston. I mean, some of the best voices in terms of pop or rock and roll soul music of the last 100 years was between those two people, Whitney Houston, who had a voice and Michael Jackson, who was the most talented person I think anybody's ever seen anywhere at any time. But that kind of musical power left him corrupt, and both of them committed suicide. So I think that it's important that power corrupts, but absolute power corrupts absolutely. So I think that the evil genius of Trump, and it is an evil genius, I watch him, and I watch carefully. And what he is doing is genius. And he's succeeding. I mean, he's succeeding. And he takes messages from, I don't care how brilliant, you could be Rex Tillerson, you could be his Secretary of Defense Mattis, you could be, Don Kelly. It doesn't matter what your stature and structure is, a level of information you may know about in there. Trump says he's smarter than all of them. And in a sense, he is. Though it is an evil wisdom, he is smarter than all of them. And he's never going to bow down to somebody, no matter how brilliant you may be from any other locale. His evil genius. But I think that's going to be the very thing, the evil genius of Trump is going to be the very thing that's going to cause him to commit suicide. Because he's going to wake up one day and just want to leave. Trump is such a despicable degenerate. He'll commit suicide just to deny the people an opportunity to beat him in 2020 election. I mean, that's how demonic he is. Trump will commit suicide just to deny the world the opportunity to see the results of the 2020 election or the results of the 48-page guilty report written by Robert Mueller. He's a genius, but an evil one. And I'll talk more about the fact that why is that so? And why did God name him Tribulation? In one respect, like the proverb, power corrupts, absolute power corrupts absolutely. It has to be seen from both edges of the sword. One is that you got power, you can do what you want to do, but the other is that that power also corrupts you. Like Whitney Houston, like Michael Jackson. That power corrupts you. And that power the corruption of Tribulation Trump is that he'll commit suicide. That they and think that will be the ultimate win. Are you listening to me? This evil genius, Tribulation Trump, will commit suicide. And by the way, that's what happened to Judas. Remember? Judas really thought he was smarter than all the other disciples. He thought he was and he thought he knew better about the future of the religion. He thought he knew better, and he thought that it would be probably a good thing to get rid of Jesus. And if he get rid of Jesus, that he could probably then at that point cut a deal with the Pharisees and the Sanhedrin and become a leader himself. Judas did. So he told the people where to pick up Jesus, hoping that they would put him in power. They didn't. And when the Sanhedrin did not put Judas in power, he realized they had taken the power of God, power of Jesus, and he committed suicide. Power corrupts. Absolute power corrupts absolutely. So the evil genius of Tribulation Trump, I suspect, I don't know that if the world makes it to January 1, 2020, that Trump will be here. And he will take great delight in committing suicide. All right, so what about this 448-page indictment? Guilty verdict. It's a guilty verdict. Trump is guilty of obstruction of justice. We don't need who needs to read the report? We saw it play out on television over the last couple of years. We saw him fire James Comey. We've seen the rhetoric. We've seen the things that they've done. We've seen how he's, we know he's guilty. We saw what he did with Sally Yates. We've seen what he's done with Hope Hicks. We saw what he did with the Don Jr. and the Trump Tower meeting. We've seen what he's done with Paul Manafort, Julian Assange, WikiLeaks. We've seen what he's done with Lavrov and Kislyak in the Oval Office after firing James Comey. We don't need who needs to read a report? He's guilty. He knows he's guilty. But he still believes that the system can take him down. And so he's doing everything. And he's found some wretched Japheth white people like Bill Barr and others. I think Lindsey Graham is going to have a coronary. I'll get to that too. Because Lindsey Graham stepped out and said Don Jr. should not testify, and then Don Jr. said, I'm going to testify. That makes that boy look like a South Carolina alligator fool. That makes Lindsey Graham look like a South Carolina fool. I don't think he'll ever recover from that. He might as well retire and go fishing in the Florida Keys somewhere. Lindsey Graham. But no, we all know that Trump is guilty of obstruction of justice. We all know that he's guilty of a whole lot of other things as well. And the Mueller report lays it out. But he doesn't want Don McGahn and Robert Mueller before television cameras of the world, because most people don't read, right? And they ain't not read that 448-page report, but they will watch that television senator, and they'll watch Don McGahn say, yes, Trump told me to lie. Yes, Trump told me to fire Robert Mueller. And I told Trump I'm not going to do it. And then when it became reported by the New York Times that it was discovered that Trump told Don McGahn to fire Robert Mueller, and Robert Mueller said he won't do it, then Trump came back and told him to say it's a lie. Say I didn't tell you. And Don McGahn said, but you did tell me to fire Robert Mueller. So he asked him to lie twice and to fire Robert Mueller twice as well. Seeing that on television is going to be a blockbuster, and Don McGahn is going to drop the bomb on him. No, Don's going to drop it on him if they don't drop something on Don first. And then Robert Mueller, have him testify. What did you find? What were your thoughts about this? Why did you think? There have been now over 800 former federal prosecutors who've stood in courtrooms across America over a span of 50 years and have prosecuted people on federal charges and getting a 96% conviction rate. These 800 federal prosecutors are now saying that Trump is guilty of at least 5 plainly seen acts of obstruction of justice. 800 former federal prosecutors have determined that Trump is guilty, and he is. So the Mueller report is a guilty verdict that's 448 pages long. And I think that's what we need to look at. This is a bit of a news blog we do, looking at spiritual wickedness in high places for the most part, making some observations about it and giving people a biblical foundation to the way of interpreting, rather than have Sean Hannity or Laura Ingraham or Janine Pirro or Anderson Cooper or Rachel Maddow or Don Lemon, Rush Limbaugh interpret what's going on in the world. You come to me and I'll tell you based on what the Word of God says. They'll just give you their worldly, sinful view. But the Manning Report will tell you what God has said, whether to say yea or nay, whether to go or to stay. You'll be led by the word of Almighty God. Come to the Manning Report on a daily basis to interpret the spiritual wickedness in high places, because there's plenty of it that's going on. And so I'm the Lord's servant, James David Righteous Rebel Manning, and I'm here to serve you with news and information.